9-0. So tonight, the New York Yankees are thinking sweep, and the Minnesota Twins are hoping a change of venue brings a change of fortune. Good evening, everybody. I'm Ernie Johnson. This is John Smoltz. This is Ron Darling. And Ronnie, I'm going to start with you. To have success in October, you got to do the things that you did in April to September. The Minnesota Twins led baseball in hitting with runners in scoring position, but they're 0 for 10 in this series.
Yeah, they have really struggled, but they've been at a disadvantage. Justin Morneau is only 14 for 28 with 4 home runs in this stadium. He has been injured the last 2 seasons. So their 3, 4, 5 hitters have had to produce. Those are your run producers, and they have not produced whole series long, and the Yankees 3, 4, 5 hitters have. But the Twins fans have been clamoring for a lineup change. They get it now with Jason Kubel is going to bat in the 4th spot, but he is only 2 for 25 in postseason at-bats, all against the New York Yankees.
Brian Dunsing gets the ball tonight for the Minnesota Twins. He's opposed by the Yankees' Phil Hughes. And Phil Hughes is in a position every pitcher wants to be in, John. A chance to pitch your team into the next round.
Well, there's no doubt you love this opportunity. And not only that, he gets to do it at home. For Phil Hughes, the Yankees are going to turn to an 18-game winner. He's had a great first half. And when you watch Phil Hughes pitch, he's going to be aggressive with his fastball both up and down. And what Phil Hughes wants to do, Ernie, is not only quiet the critics and take his team to the next level, but he's the last piece of the puzzle. When this series started, there was a lot of question marks on what the Yankees are going to do starting-wise. They're up 2-0. He can answer the critics, send the ball to CC in the next division.
The New York Yankees have won 8 straight in the postseason over the Minnesota Twins. The Twins have had leads in each of those 8 games and haven't held one. The first pitch of Game 3 is right around the corner. Clear autumn evening here at Yankee Stadium for Game 3 of the ALDS, and this American League Division Series coverage on TBS is brought to you in HD by BMW, the ultimate driving machine. Let's take a look at the Minnesota Twins starting lineup. Same personnel, they've tweaked it a bit, as Ron pointed out moments ago. Denard Span hits leadoff. Orlando Hudson in the 2-hole, followed by Joe Mauer. There's the move. Jason Kubel moves up to the cleanup spot from the 7-hole, and everybody else moves down. Delman Young, who leads the team in hitting in this series. Jim Thome, the DH, then Michael Kadire. Danny Valencia at third, and J.J. Hardy hits ninth and plays shortstop. And Phil Hughes on the mound for the New York Yankees.
Phil Hughes, if you're the Minnesota Twins, you're going to have to be very, very, very disciplined. Stay off the high fastball. You look at his year's numbers, they're pretty good. The only hiccup, he's a fly ball pitcher, and in Yankee Stadium, he's given up 20 home runs. So if the Twins can get it in the air, especially to right field, maybe they can have some success. But for Phil Hughes, he likes to work ahead, and as we said, pitch off that fastball and try to keep the momentum. It's going to be crazy here at Yankee Stadium.
Phil Hughes has pitched in the postseason before. All of those appearances have been in relief. 11 games total with 12 innings pitched. And in the 2009 postseason out of the pen, he was in 9 games, had an ERA of about 8.5. But this is a huge moment for him. The Yankees with the 2-0 advantage and trying to close out the Minnesota Twins in a 3-game sweep. Denard Span steps in for Minnesota. 2 out of 9 in the series. Hughes, 24 years old, and here it comes. We are underway at Yankee Stadium.
Ron Gardenhire talked to us before the game. He said that after batting practice, he was going to address his team. He thinks his team has been in between, whether to work a walk or whether to be aggressive. He told them to let it fly tonight.
Denard Span has had leadoff singles in each of the first 2 games. In fact, the similarities between those first 2 games, guys, are just staggering, with Minnesota grabbing the lead. New York would then rally, but both games tied after 6 innings. But it's been the New York Yankees who have done the damage in the 7th, 8th, and 9th and have shut out the Minnesota Twins in those 3 frames. That's a broken bat looper that Derek Jeter grabs for the first out.
Well, nice play there by Derek Jeter. Defense has been awfully good for the Yankees in this series. Gardner, a lot of speed. Curtis Granderson, an all-star. Nick Swisher, all-star this season. Rodriguez, Jeter, Cano, and Teixeira, gold all the way around. And Robinson Cano has had a gold glove year this year. And Jorge Posada behind the plate. And, of course, his battery mate, Phil Hughes.
You can hear in the background the roll call. And they wait for the players to salute or acknowledge that their names have been called. It's a great tradition at this ballpark. Here's Hudson.
Some players actually wait a little longer, too.
They don't mind hearing the cheer. And it's one of the great things that they've brought over from the old Yankee Stadium.
Hughes quickly ahead. 0-2 against Hudson, who homered in Game 2. He's 2 out of 8 in the series with a homer and an RBI. Hughes started the year 10-1. Here comes the 0-2.
Well, first sign already. First 2 hitters 0-2. The hitters are only hitting 138 in an 0-2 count. He's only given up 9 hits all year on an 0-2 count. Pretty good. And, you know, he's going to basically come after you and see what he can, how far he can get you to chase up the ladder, Ron.
Especially early, John. When you're a power pitcher, you really can go right after the hitters, at least the first time through. Orlando Hudson has been a great addition to this club. Lots of noise, great chatter in the clubhouse.
Down low, a ball and 2 strikes. Hughes' last start, guys, was September 26th, just under 2 weeks ago. at home against the Red Sox. Went 6 innings. His last outing was last weekend. Played that day-night doubleheader at Fenway, and he picked up the win in relief. 2 up and 2 down. Fourth member of our crew is the impeccably dressed Craig Sager. Sags.
Well, thanks, EJ. Twins manager Ron Gardenhire told us earlier tonight that his team was in dire straits, and he did plan to have that meeting that Ron was talking about with his team after batting practice, make a lap around the locker room and talk to each one individually. But he apparently had second thoughts, and I talked to Michael Kadire, who's been with him 9 years, and he said, hey, it's a good thing. He said that would have been out of his norm, and as Ron said, all I do is say, guys, you know what you have to get done? Go let it fly.
All right, thank you very much, Craig. And I guess impeccable is it's all in the eye of the beholder, obviously. But,
impeccable to you, obviously, EJ.
He cannot be missed. Joe Mauer, number 3 hitter in the Minnesota order. Grounds it to first. That ball is fair. And Mark Teixeira makes the play. A 3-up, 3-down first for Phil Hughes in Game 3. First inning, and here is the lineup that Joe Girardi sends out against the Minnesota Twins, and it's the same as in Game 1 when they faced a lefty. Jeter in the leadoff spot. They'll switch hitters. Swisher and Teixeira hitting 2 and 3. Alex Rodriguez hits cleanup, then Robinson Cano. The DH, Marcus Timms. Jorge Posada behind the plate. Curtis Granderson, who's been dangerous wherever he's been in the lineup, hitting 8th, and Brett Gardner bats 9th and plays left field as they face Brian Dunsing, the lefty.
Well, Brian Dunsing is a guy, as his manager says, he's not afraid to throw any pitch, any count. He must pitch ahead. When he's ahead in the count and go to the slider, he's very effective, and he's got to control the left-handed batters in this lineup. They're only hitting 162, but we heard that before early on, and the left-handers did some damage for the Yankees. So Brian wants to pass the baton and give his fellow teammate another game to start tomorrow.
Derek Jeter leads it off and takes a strike. Every Yankee who has started both games of this series has at least 2 hits. The Yankees hitting .292 in the series, while the Twins hitting .219. The 0-2 pitch to Derek Jeter out of the zone, and we welcome those of you who have been watching the Texas Rangers and the Tampa Bay Rays playing Game 3 of their series. And so far, the home team has not won a game in the ALDS. Tampa Bay showing some fight today to stay alive as Derek Jeter lines a single to left to lead off the Yankee first.
Well, it's interesting that Dunsing started the at-bat, first pitch of the game with a changeup, and then tries to come in with that little slider cutter inside the Jeter. Anything inside the Jeter is always a problem because he stays behind the baseball so well.
Now Nick Swisher steps in. When Dunsing pitched here last year in Game 1 of the ALDS, not only was it the first time he'd pitched here, he'd never been to New York City before.
Well, if the Twins, we got opposite pitchers. We got a ground ball pitcher who doesn't strike many out in Minnesota, and we've seen Phil Hughes can rush it up there. He's a fly ball pitcher and a strikeout pitcher. But for Minnesota, the ball's got to be on the ground for them to have success with this pitcher. He works down in the zone and see if he can get the Yankee hitters just out in front hitting balls on the ground.
Fouled off by Swisher. And the story on Dunsing, he's known for his calm demeanor on the mound. Looks like nothing rattles him, but he even admits, he said that first trip to New York and that first start in the postseason, he said, I may have looked calm, but boy, inside it was going 100 miles an hour. And he did pitch into the 5th in that game. Did give up a 2-run homer to Derek Jeter after being staked to a 2-0 lead. The 0-2. Ran it inside and missed. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Well, remember, the Nebraska native, Dunsing, who goes back to Omaha every single year. That was after game 163. They got here at 5 o'clock in the morning. So very rushed in that start. Dunsing, of course, has had plenty of time to think about this one.
Jeter with his lead at first. Here comes the 1-2. Fly ball right field. Kubel camps under it. 1 down.
Well, the Twins consistently are a good defensive team. They've made some mistakes in this series, though. Young, Span, and Kubel have been in the outfield for the first 2 games. Valencia, Hardy, Hudson, and Kadire. No changes in the infield. And, of course, you're not going to change the guy behind the plate, their best player in Joe Mauer.
There is Mauer behind the plate as Mark Teixeira steps in. He has one of the 2 Yankee homers in this series. Takes a strike.
Well, the 2 of them, both the pitcher and the catcher, only 4 stolen bases against Bryan. Well, he's made 13 starts in the second half. So he controls the running game pretty well as a left-hander, as most left-handers do.
He looks at Jeter.
Well, the thing they love about Dunsing, if you're a Minnesota Twin, Rick Anderson said he's a pitching coach's dream. Never asked for anything. He only asked the pitching coach, what can I do for the team to help them? And I think that's how his career has gone. He's gone back and forth from the pen to starting, but Ron Gardenhire said he will be a starter from now on.
Missed again. 2 balls and a strike. His first 39 appearances this season were out of the bullpen, and he was good. 3-1 with an ERA of 1.67. Made 13 starts and went 7-2 in those with an ERA a shade over 3. That ball is hit to right. Kubel busy here in the first. 2 down.
if you're wondering why people get a little antsy when the ball's hit to right, because that's where a lot of the home runs go. Every time a ball's in right field in the air, it's a short porch.
Yeah, John, I'll tell you, and when you watch batting practice here and you see the fans gather out there, if you don't get at least one, you feel cheated. I mean, that area is peppered with long balls. It's just 314 straight down the line and right. Here's Alex Rodriguez, 2 out of 7 in the series.
And you know, it's for good reason, guys. 223 home runs hit here this season, 140 of them to right field. And the thing you have to worry, and Dunsing's got to make the adjustment, both those hitters that made outs are both trying to go to right field. So that's their approach against Dunsing this evening.
And that's one of the differences, too, between this ballpark and the ballpark we just left, Target Field in Minneapolis, where the way that Yankee hitters approach this and taking aim at that really can't be done there. This is a ballpark, as Joe Girardi said, that is tailored for this ball club. See what Dunsing does here. Way ahead in the count, 0-2 with 2 down in the first.
You're right, Ernie. 116 home runs at Target Field. I said 223 here. And, John, how do you counter that if you're Dunsing? You have to pitch inside, don't you?
Yeah, and he's not afraid to do that. But beware pitching inside down the line's not too far either. 318 in that short porch to the left. So it's a hitter's paradise here.
Dunsing, a soft toss over to Kadire at first to keep Jeter close. Didn't have a big lead. Ball and 2 strikes. Popped him up. Shallow center. Orlando Hudson waves everybody off and makes the play. We head to the second in Game 3.
A lot of left-handed hitters, so we thought that we would go to a three-man rotation and try to throw, 4 lefties at him in 5 games if that's what it comes down to. And Phil Hughes has thrown the ball extremely well. And there are tough decisions that you have to make. But because we only went with 3 starters, that was why we picked the 3 that we did.
And here is that third starter, Phil Hughes, opening up in the top half of the second. He got him 1, 2, 3 in the first. And this is the change in that Minnesota batting order. It's moving Jason Kubel to the cleanup spot, hoping that it has an impact on the team, and maybe it shakes him up a little bit too in his career in the postseason now. Just 2 for 25 with 12 strikeouts.
Well, he's had 3 walks in this series, and he has talked about how he's seeing the ball great. But right now, that they are on the cusp of getting out of this division. They need to be aggressive and swing the bat. Walks are fine, but they're having trouble putting 2, 3, 4 hits together. It's not going to help. Kubel's put in this position here, literally to hit the ball over the fence.
Waiting on a 2-2 from Hughes to Kubel. Took something off, and Ed Gardner makes the play. 1 down.
Well, it's interesting, Ernie, all the question marks when we started this series, and all of a sudden the Yankees are in a position of everyone's going, oh, yeah, these are the defending champs. There's not the underdogs. And Phil Hughes is a big part of it, as was Andy Pettit. But what it does do, and the opposite's true for Minnesota, it's hard to play when you're pressing. It's hard to play when you're answering the questions, why can't you do this, why can't you do that?
If the Yankees were looking for a lot of answers, they're on their way to a 1,400 on the SAT if this continues.
Delman Young, the only Minnesota starter hitting over 300, 375 in the series. Joe Girardi saying that yesterday's day off really good for his guys to just kick back, to enjoy themselves. He had the family out with him, had the kids out for the workout. Said it's very important to him that kids know what their dads do for a living. That's the way it was with him when he grew up. That's the way he wants it to be with his. A ball and 2 strikes to Delman Young. Second strikeout for Phil Hughes. Jim Thome heads to the plate, and we head down to Craig.
Well, Thome is the Twins' leading home run hitter, but during batting practice, he made a conscious effort not to pull the ball to the short porch in right field. He said he expects Hughes to pitch him outside. He wants to keep the stance square and go with the pitch to left center. But he said if he makes a mistake inside, he's ready to pull off early and show us his home run trot. DJ?
Thank you, Craig. And as we have seen in this series, the Yankees put the shift on against Thome.
It's interesting. When Phil Hughes pitches, Ron, he kind of gives you a short arm. He doesn't show you the ball, so it's not 97 by the guy, but it's 92, 93 quick. And that's why he can live in the strike zone. A lot of his fastballs are in the strike zone, and for some would be right down the middle, and they're not catching up to it because the hitter doesn't see it that quick.
Yeah, for a big guy, he hides the baseball as well as you can hide it for a right-hander.
The count even 1-1 to Thome, and now 1 ball and 2 strikes. Thome 1 out of 7 in the series from the DH spot. And he's made the last out in each of the first 2 games. Hughes trying to get him for the final out of the second inning. And he did. Third strikeout. 1, 2, 3 for Hughes again. Let's take a look at this place with the stadium perspectives of Sony PlayStation's MLB 10, the show. You saw that 314 down the line, and we've talked about that short porch in right field, but this place is spectacular. They've gone from Hilltop Park to the Polo Grounds, the original Yankee Stadium. When they made renovations to the original, when they played a couple of seasons in the mid-70s at Shea, this place is off the charts. Now in its second year, and it is packed full for Game 3. We're in the bottom half of the second inning. Here's Robinson Cano, who takes a strike from Brian Dunsing. Dunsing actually a college teammate of Jabba Chamberlain at the University of Nebraska, and admits that when he was a college kid, he was so fearful of flying that when the team took its first trip, he actually sat down at the computer and typed out a will and saved it. Didn't have a good feeling about that first trip, but he's overcome that. Hopes to stay grounded here tonight in Game 3 against the Pinstripes.
Well, he and Jabba both attend the Nebraska football games, and of course Dunsing got a lot of ribbing from Jabba because Jabba said, well, you know, I certainly can't go there till the middle of November because I'm usually a little busy.
Cano fouls it away. John, let me ask you about something that Brian Dunsing has noticed, and it was a way he's gone. He said it wasn't anything mechanical he saw when he was going through a little bit of a rough patch, but he thought he was gripping the ball too tightly, and it was affecting his command.
Well, there's no doubt there's so many components to pitching. You can go drive yourself crazy, but that's one of them. You know, they say grip that bird so you don't choke it and let it fly at the same time.
That ball's well hit by Robinson Cano. Back and off the wall. Cano is at second. He's on his way to third.
Watching him in the BP, the ball just jumps off Robinson's bat. Going to be a contender for the AL MVP. A good pitch thrown by Dunsing, and the ability to hit the ball 400 yards, 400 feet over the head of Denard Span. Nice try by Span. Caroms off that wall at a bad angle, and that allowed Cano to get a triple.
Sometimes it seems like you got to hit it 400 yards to get it over Denard Span. But that one hit at the base of the wall, and the leadoff hitter here in the second, Robinson Cano, is at third. Here's Marcus Timms, the DH.
You know, it just doesn't matter what the numbers are against left-handers against this lineup. It just seems that Cano is such a good hitter. Two left-handers in this Minnesota Twins pitching staff have dominated left-handers, and already you're seeing the evidence of the lefty-on-lefty coming to burn Minnesota early in this game.
Breaking pitch over. A ball and a strike. Timms went 0 for 3 in Game 1 out of the DH spot. Walked and struck out. Has a chance to give the Yankees the early lead here in the second. Popped him up. That's not going to get it done. Hardy makes the play. One down.
Well, he's not afraid to go in, and he goes in with a fastball, and that's a product of looking for something else, trying to pull your hands in and not getting the pitch you want, and doing exactly what the pitcher wanted him to do. Pop it up, maybe pull it to third base. Those are the only two spots where maybe a run doesn't score on, and so he can do some things now with Posada. He can afford to maybe even pitch around him if he wants, with some opportunities to get a double play or face some left-handers coming up behind him.
Under 100 strikeouts for the season. How does a guy who can't get strikeouts get a guy out in a strikeout situation? You got to pitch him in, try to get a pop-up. He did.
So here's Jorge Posada. And the New York Yankees have the lead here in the second. Posada's second RBI of the series, and it's 1-0.
This is just good hitting. A pitch down is what you want. You want to get a pitch down, get it on the ground, but Jorge gets it between the drawn and infield. Early lead for the Yankees.
So Robinson Cano scores the game's first run. Here is Curtis Granderson with Posada at first. The headline hits in this series for the Yankees have been struck by Mark Teixeira, Lance Berkman. But you could say, obviously, that if Curtis Granderson weren't having the series he was having, they wouldn't be sitting pretty up 2-0. He's been 4 out of 8.
Yeah, for those who haven't watched the first two games and might be tuning in for the first game, Minnesota and New York have played a tight game all the way to the 7th inning. They played with the Yankees that just can't get the job done. And to your point, Ernie, a lot of big hits by the Yankees, really none for Minnesota. That's why they're trailing 0-2.
That ball's hit hard right at second and should be too. Granderson, a tough guy to double, but you got to hit it exactly that hard to get that pulled off. And the Twins did. But the Yankees get on the board. A triple by Robinson Cano and a run-scoring single from Jorge Posada. 1-0, New York. Big hit brought to you by Fresh and Delicious Avocados. This is the big hit from Game 2 delivered by Lance Berkman. As the Yankees again rallied to win. This time around, Yankees have scored first for the first time in this series. And in 9 games overall. Now, these games have followed a familiar script, which has been bad news for the Minnesota Twins as Michael Kadire leads it off here in the third. He's behind 0-2.
Well, Hughes is throwing a lot of pitches middle of the plate, about chest high, and so far the Twins are swinging through.
4 strikeouts, 3 in a row. 1 out in the third. Here is Danny Valencia. John, one of the things about Phil Hughes was the way he pitched in this ballpark. And he said he found himself trying to do too much, trying to throw the ball 100 miles an hour, and that's not him. Get into that dynamic, if you would, between pitching at home, pitching on the road, all the adrenaline, all that stuff.
Well, there's a lot of things that go into it, and I'm pretty sure that right field, he grounds out to A-Rod. That right field had a lot to do with it in the beginning. When you're giving up a lot of home runs and your success rate's a little bit higher or higher on the road than at home, you're going to try to do some things differently, and you're going to try to maybe power the ball in the zone and strike more guys out. It's only human nature. You want to keep the ball in the ballpark. He's a fly ball pitcher. It's what he is, and he's had a lot of rest. You can see he's got electric stuff, and he's feeding off of it.
The first 15 home runs he allowed this season were all in this ballpark. Didn't allow one on the road till the end of July. And that was at Tampa Bay.
Young pitchers can get intimidated by a ballpark sometimes, whether it's the wind blowing out in Wrigley Field or the short porch here. Got to get over that fear.
J.J. Hardy with a grounder to Jeter. The Twins have had one ball out of the infield in 3 innings. TBS as the New York Yankees host the Minnesota Twins in Game 3. And New York thinking sweep after taking those first 2 on the road at Target Field. The number 9 man, Brett Gardner, will lead it off against Brian Dunsing. Lefty, and starts him with a strike, 0-1. Yankees got to him for a run in the second. Leadoff triple by Cano. RBI single by Jorge Posada, who passed the Mick with that one, Ron.
Ninth place now all time in the postseason.
The 0-2 from Dunsing to Gardner. Bounced and cut off at third, and a strong arm by Valencia to get him. One down. Let's check in with Matt Weiner in Atlanta. Absolutely. I've been through that scenario before in years past as Jeter grounds it to third. And quickly 2 down in the Yankee third. So a potential for 4 games tomorrow, depending on what happens here.
For a baseball fan, it's like hitting the lottery, right? Put it in perspective, though. I mentioned that Posada passed the great Mickey Mantle to go into 9th place with 41 RBIs. That is with 150 more at-bats than the Mick.
Here's Nick Swisher. Flied out to right his first time. Now 2 out of 10 in this series. Brian Dunsing was to have his parents and his in-laws at the game here tonight in New York. He just had one bit of advice for him. Please do not wear anything that says Dunsing on it. It's sage advice. Coming into hostile territory as the Twins visit New York. And there is Nick Swisher going to the gap in left center. Swisher at second and makes a big turn. Look out. Hardy didn't throw back. That was a wide turn at second. And he's on there with 2 down.
Well, I know that, Brian likes his slider, but right now it's just rolling over the plate. He's not really getting down through it to have a sharp break to where you get a swing and a miss. Even though he's not a strikeout pitcher, he can get a couple guys to not square that pitch up. So he's just going to have to be a little bit firmer with that slider.
So with 2 outs, a runner in scoring position for New York. Mark Teixeira flied out to right his first time. Swisher with his lead at second.
We already talked about the Yankees having great success with runners in scoring position. Brian Dunsing has allowed under 200 batting average with guys in running scoring position. So he bears down and makes his best pitching when they've had an opportunity to score, and he's going to need it right here with 2 outs.
That single by Posada in the second put the Yankees at 8 for 23 with runners in scoring position in the series. Minnesota has yet to scratch 0 for 10, and that a team that led baseball in that department in the regular season. Teixeira lines it to left. Dillman Young back, won't get it off the wall. Teixeira will settle for a single, and the Yankees have a 2-0 lead.
Well, guys, we talked in the open how inefficient the Minnesota hitters in the 3, 4, 5 slots have been. The run producers, just the opposite of the New York Yankees. Their run producers in the middle of the lineup have gotten the big hits. They've gotten the hits with 2 outs. They've got the sac flies in. They've done everything they could possibly do as the run producers as Swisher comes in.
That pitch right there was supposed to be in and ended up right down the middle. You can't do that to a hitter like Teixeira. He's lucky he kept it in the park.
Much discussion in the Minnesota dugout in a 2-0 game here in the third. And here's Alex Rodriguez. They are revved up here at Yankee Stadium. Yankees have never advanced as the wild card team. Always knocked out. But they're trying to deliver the haymaker tonight in front of the home folks here. That ball is lined, but right at Valencia. Wow, they had some good swings in that frame. It's a 2-0 game. Nick Swisher connected. So did Mark Teixeira. 2-zip pinstripes. AT&T, and Conan premieres November 8th right here on TBS. We're in the top half of the fourth inning now. Yes, John?
Is he in there?
I would tend to think not.
If
you'd like to go up and check, we'll cover for you.
I saw a lot of commercials with him in there. So he's not in there?
Can't believe everything you see on TV. We look forward to Conan's appearance on TBS. Minnesota looks forward to their first hit of the evening.
You know, it's interesting. There used to be a day when you would think of the Twins as maybe underachievers that played over their head, small ball, drive-in runs, bunt for a base hit. That's kind of transformed. We haven't seen a lot of that kind of play here by the Twins in this series.
Bernard Span follows it back. The count is 1 ball and 2 strikes.
I'll tell you another thing I haven't seen all across the series is the amount of first career postseason starts that we've seen already. Phil Hughes having his, and everyone has done pretty much a great job for not having any experience. It's been an unbelievable series to watch all across the board from first timers.
The Hughes chant goes up, as does the pitch. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Twins have not had a come from behind win in their last 22 postseason games. They trail here 2-0.
John, occasionally it's better not to know what this is all about. Just go out there and execute.
Span waits. And there is the first Minnesota hit.
What's nice to see on this Span hit is that was a pretty good curveball down by Phil Hughes. It's down and in, but it's still down, and he goes down and gets it a little bit off the end of the bat. But nice to see even a good pitch by Hughes can be put in play for a single by the Twins.
Now here's Orlando Hudson. Struck out his first time. Span has the best speed on the team. He's at first. That's grounded to short. 6, 4, 3. Double play. That's like Rivera the other night. Got a runner on, quickly turned to double play, and the Yankees do it again right here. Jeter, Cano, and Teixeira.
The Yankees have almost toyed with the Twins. It's almost like Charlie Brown and Lucy. They keep taking the football away, John.
It's definitely a loose team against a tight team, and that's what happens in a short series when things don't go your way. The momentum switches. People start talking about all the things you haven't done. You need something to happen. In all the other series, something crazy or something happens to spur that team on. We saw it last night. The Braves were pretty much out of it. They rallied, scored 4 runs, and won it in extra innings. Same thing with the Rays. So Minnesota's looking for that. They're looking for something, some big hit, something that might turn it and say, all right, because they want to prove they're in this series and they can play a few more games than just the 3 they're headed for. As Ron said, there's a lot of pride on this team. This team's worked awfully hard to get to this position.
Hitters count for Joe Mauer. 2 balls, no strikes. And he goes the other way. Brett Gardner has no problem with that. Phil Hughes has faced the minimum. It's 2-0 New York. Every game live on TBS, TNT, True TV, and CBS. John Smoltz cannot wait.
I'm all over that.
For that.
You know who's going to be there. That's why
I would think Michigan State with Tom Izzo.
Absolutely.
We move to the bottom half of the fourth inning, and Robinson Cano leads it off in the second. He got it started with a triple and came around to score on a Jorge Posada single. That was the first run. Yankees lead it 2-0. Dunsing to the plate. Fouled away, a ball and a strike.
When Cano was a younger player, they used to have to address sometimes his lapses mentally on the field. And everyone talks about his offense because he is a great offensive player. But for Joe Girardi's team now, no errors for Cano this entire season. We saw that with the double play last inning. Just has become the complete package.
Tapped up toward first. Dunsing got to get over there, but the throw is wild, and it hit Mick Kelleher, the Yankees' first base coach. I'm going to take it that by the smiles over there, he's okay.
It's a play you go over 6,520 times in spring training. It ain't easy.
Ouch.
And neither was that.
Wow.
Don't say anything, Ernie.
John, I would never bring up
the deflection.
Yeah. Had no chance
it's like
against
a goalie.
that.
He had no chance.
I would never bring up a similar shot that you took at Fenway Park earlier this season. I would not do that to you.
Do you think that'll be mentioned in the clubhouse after the game at all?
Do you think it will ever stop? So Cano is on. And here's Marcus Timms. That ball is hit deep to right center field. Back toward that wall and gone!
Well, right here, the Yankee hitters are really comfortable, not only here, but at the plate. And he just drives this ball the other way. We already talked about that short porch out there. And this is a team feeling awfully good about itself, up 4-0.
So Marcus Timms, who earlier this season had a streak in which he hit 7 home runs in 10 games, connects here in Game 3. That's his first hit of this series and makes it a 4-0 game. Posada at the plate now.
Well, Marcus Timms has been the great equalizer against left-handed pitching. It's his 6th home run this season against left-handers.
Posada's 1 for 1. He's 3 out of 8 in the series. Knocked in a run his first time.
And if you're Brian Dunsing, you mean you are what you are. It's not that you're going to hump up and throw harder and strike these guys out. You have to make quality pitches to get them out. We haven't seen the ground balls. We haven't seen the effectiveness of his changeup. And the hitters right now are comfortable at the plate and making great contact.
At 73 miles an hour, he floated that over. And he's ahead in the count, 1-2. What a feeling for Marcus Timms. Just inside. 2 balls and 2 strikes. A Robinson Cano infield single followed by a 2-run homer by Marcus Timms. And it's 4-0. As you can see, the action heating up in the Minnesota bullpen.
Knew by the sound of the bat in this ballpark, anything to right center has a chance to get out of the ballpark. what a year for Thames and these Yankees.
Payoff pitch to Posada.
It's no more of the same here for the Yankees when Phil Hughes pitches. 7.5 runs they average for him this season. Getting off to this quick start. What I see, John, is that Dunsing does not have his best stuff. That's obvious. But he hasn't moved the feet or any batter off the plate the entire game. And it goes to what you were talking about. Yankee hitters just feel awfully comfortable in the box.
Again, the 3-2. And Posada is called out on strikes for the first out here in the fourth.
Throws the ball inside, probably gets a little benefit of the call, but nonetheless a strikeout to feel a little bit better about yourself, because hitting is contagious, and it just seems like when you're out there in this park, you're like, man, I got to get 3 outs.
But when you have to only throw perfect pitches to get hitters out, it makes for a long day.
Curtis Granderson right down the line, but just fouled.
Take that back. It makes for a short day sometimes.
Just the first strikeout of the evening for Brian Dunsing.
Well, to your point earlier about Phil Hughes, he was 15-0 when he got 6 runs or more.
The Yankees lead it 4-0. They've got 7 hits.
You know, these guys have taken similar paths to their career, both having to pitch out of the pen to help their team. Phil Hughes doing it. Had different paths in the minor leagues. Phil Hughes absolutely dominated the minor leagues. Sub 500 for Brian. But he's come up here and done a great job for Ron Gardenhire. As he said when we talked to him earlier, you know what? He's going to stay in the rotation more than likely. We're not going to bounce him around anymore. Great patience by these 2 young pitchers to be able to do that early in their career.
Anderson waits on a 1-2. Down the left field line, and that'll be out of play. Granderson grounded into a rare double play. Among the toughest to double up in the league. That came in the second. He hit the ball like a bullet right at Orlando Hudson as the Twins turned 2 to end the second. Mauer held it there for a second. Missed 2-2.
You know what I want to see? I want to see, after watching Robinson Cano, and my respect has gone, I want to see him face Mariano Rivera. See if we can make that happen.
I don't think we're going to make
I think
it
he's the
happen
only one that
March.
can hit him.
You know what? I don't think either of them wants to do it. Another full count here in the fourth. It was full against Posada. Again here against Granderson, who fouls it back.
At this point, giving your team innings is not as important as being able to put up zeros. I don't know how much longer Brian's going to be able to stick in this game. The lease is short when you have your 0-2 in the series.
3-2 again. Down low. And Granderson reaches with a walk here in the fourth. Visit TBS Hot Corner at MLB.com/TBS Hot Corner to watch live video companion coverage of every MLB postseason game. Well, when he started here in the ALDS Game 1 last year, he didn't get out of the fifth. And tonight, Brian Dunsing does not get out of the fourth. He leaves trailing 4-0. Bottom half of the fourth, they lead at 4-0. That is Brian Dunsing, who was gone quicker than my per diem on a trip to New York. Last 3 1/3.
You know, John, I was just thinking about it. Both of you and I have sat in that seat, and the things that race through your brain. What happens in these starts is that they go so quickly, don't they? You can't believe how quick it goes and how much damage can be done in such a short time.
Yeah, especially here. You got a game plan. It's a tough lineup. You know it going in. You try to pitch perfect, and that's the key. Trying to pitch perfect is awfully difficult, and that's why at this level, you know what, in the playoffs, you're the hero or the GOAT, but you got to learn from it. You got to say, this next time I get a chance, I'll learn from what I just had gone through.
So he takes a seat, having allowed 4 runs to this point. Granderson at first is his responsibility, and Matt Guerrier comes on here in the fourth. He faces Brett Gardner.
Slider, big curveball type guy. He's going to have to try and get some quick outs. Find a way for Minnesota to just crawl their way back in this game. They've got to be able to contribute at the plate a little bit better than they have.
Guerrier appearing in his second game of this series. He pitched in game 2. There goes Granderson. The throw by Mauer is into center field. Granderson will motor into third.
Well, Joe Mauer, who has gold gloves, had a perfect pitch to throw, overthrew it into the outfield, and that stolen base by Curtis Granderson and the error by Joe Mauer. Very unaccustomed to seeing the Twins and their best player play this way.
So Granderson 90 feet away. The Twins bring the infield in, already down 4-0. And Gardner waits on an 0-2. Out of the zone, 1-2. Yankees pressing the issue, leading 4-0. The stolen base, and E2 has Granderson at third.
Well, this is the problem they present to you at the bottom of their lineup, is that when they roll it over, they've got tons of speed.
Granderson a walking lead at third. Just a little looper foul right near the line and hits the tarp. Ball and 2 strikes.
And I'll tell you what a lot of guys can't do, or don't seem to want to do. He's stealing on an 0-1 pitch, and he takes strike 2 to get in the hole 0-2. But this is one of the guys that battles at the plate. He doesn't care if it's 0-2, 2-0. And that's one thing you have to do to help your team be successful. You've got to give up of yourself to get the guy in scoring position to increase your chances to win a baseball game. Gardner did it. Now he can get a run without a hit.
He has all the great qualities of a leadoff man in the 9 position. A ball and 2 strikes. Mauer kept that in front. 2-2.
Well, unlike the baseball we saw at Target Field, if this ball goes by the catcher, you will get a run.
A lot more room here at Yankee Stadium.
Classic form, gets over in front of the baseball. If it's a breaking ball, you know as soon as it hits the dirt, it's going to try to dart back to your left hand, and stayed right in front of it and cushioned it in front of him.
In Minnesota, it's 45 feet, the minimum that you can have the backstop from home plate. Fly ball left field. Delman Young has to backtrack, and Curtis Granderson hustles for the plate and scores the 5th Yankee run.
Boy, what a nice at-bat by Brett Gardner.
Yeah, to the point. He went 0-2, didn't panic, and they scored a run without getting a hit. These are the little things that add up in a big way in postseason baseball. They go unnoticed in the regular season sometimes, but in the postseason, they're huge.
5 Yankees have come to the plate. 3 have scored here in the 4th. And now here's Derek Jeter. He's 1 out of 2. When he singled in the first, it made it 19 straight postseason games in which he has reached safely. He shortened up on the bat a little bit there, and Danny Valencia was on the dead run from deep third.
The Yankees have singles today. They have a double, a triple, a home run, a walk, and a stolen base, and a sacrifice fly. An all-around offensive effort.
They got some mojo going, and you look at that dugout. They can smell it. A 1-1 due to Derek Jeter. That error in this inning by Joe Mauer. The first by either side in this series. And that's in character for both of these teams. Two of the best defensively. In fact, the Yankees made the fewest errors in baseball and have not made one here. Jeter swung right through it. 2 balls and 2 strikes. And Brian Dunsing, the Game 3 starter, and knocked out here in the 4th. Winner of this series, of course, gets the winner of the Texas-Tampa Bay series, which is not over. Texas went home looking for a sweep today, and Tampa Bay rallied late. Jeter to right field. Cut off by Kubel. But that is the 8th New York hit as we play here in the 4th. Jeter is 2 out of 3. Nick Swisher has doubled and scored in this game. Scored the 2nd New York run. They had single runs in the 2nd and the 3rd. They've scored 3 times here in the 4th.
Guerrero's going to have to pay attention, even with 2 outs, to Jeter at first base. He might try to press the issue also.
Mark Teixeira waiting on deck. If Swisher can reach here in the 4th. Derek Jeter, the runner at first, with his 2nd hit of the night. Action continues in the Minnesota bullpen. Number 28 is Jesse Crane, and we saw in Game 1, not a good night.
Well, Matt Guerrero, who's in this game, is a guy that usually pitches in the 6th or 7th inning later in the game, but it's like the 6th or 7th here for the Minnesota Twins. Scott Baker, the other right-hander, up in the bullpen.
Baker yet to make an appearance in this series. 2 balls and a strike, and again Guerrero throws over, which delights the patrons here at Yankee Stadium. delight them even more. No, they're not chanting Hughes this time. Five runs on 8 hits for New York. Three balls and 1 strike. If the Minnesota Twins are to stay alive in this series, they're going to have to rewrite some franchise history. Their largest postseason come from behind win is 4 runs, which came in 2002 in Game 1 at Oakland. There goes Jeter, and they check, and Swisher they say is a strike. 3 balls and 2 strikes, and Jeter at second with the stolen base. He thought he had thrown ball 4.
Whenever you watch those check swings, you want to see the head of the bat. Does it continue through just enough in front of that plate? Chris Guccione said yes.
Guccione, the third base umpire. Greg Gibson behind the plate tonight. Now a payoff pitch with a runner in scoring position.
To me, they're all swings, Ernie.
I know that.
They are. I've seen a lot of hits that hit the bat going at that rate right there over the third baseman's head. One man's view, that's all.
Biggest check swing in postseason so far. The bat of Michael Young.
Without question. Ruled a ball, and he went deep the next pitch. There's ball 4 to Swisher. They're at first and second with 2 out. Here is tonight's John Hancock leaderboard. Here it is, right here. Home run leaders versus left-hand pitchers.
And what do you notice that's different about all those guys on there?
The number 1 guy.
That's right. Left-handed hitter. Unbelievable.
Exactly.
Everyone else is either a switch hitter or a right-handed hitter. And that just shows you what an unbelievable year and how comfortable he is sitting at the plate. Doesn't matter, right or left.
And he went 2 for 2 against the left-hander who started this game, Brian Dunsing. Dunsing lifted here in the 4th for Matt Guerrier, who's trying to get out of this thing with no further damage. He's got Mark Teixeira up there now with 2 out. Runners at first and second.
You know, the book on Mark Teixeira, and it's probably safe to say this is going to be his last hitter this inning if he doesn't get him out. But you got to get him to swing over the top of a curveball. He has a very good curveball. See if he can take advantage of getting that position where he can throw the curveball. You got to get ahead.
Problem with the Twins pitchers in this series, they've been throwing their good secondary pitches early in the counts, but they have not been throwing them for strikes. Change up there from Guerrier, wide.
Two balls and no strikes for the number 3 hitter in the Yankees lineup. Teixeira flied out to right his first time, doubled home a run in the 3rd. Jeter at second, Swisher at first. There's a strike. 2-1. Bird's eye view here at Yankee Stadium. Yankees lead at 5-0. Trying to blow this thing open. And Teixeira will get a 3-1 pitch to look at. Another bad one. Loads him for this guy. full, 3-2. Runners lead from first and second. Teixeira waiting on a payoff, which will not be made. You played with this guy, Mark Teixeira, in Atlanta. What was your assessment of his skills offensively, John, as a teammate?
He's just the most disciplined guy. Everything he does is disciplined. He doesn't give a bat away. He doesn't give a play away in the field. He's just ready for every moment.
The runners go as Teixeira grounds it foul, and McKelliher makes that play.
Still no fear.
Exactly.
Despite.
Nick perhaps best known for the fact that he played in the big leagues and was at the plate, 1,081 at-bats without a home run in his major league career.
Glad I didn't face him, because I'd have given it up. I always gave up guys' first home run, it seemed like.
Runners going again, and Teixeira is called out on strikes. But the New York Yankees add to their lead. They score 3 times, 2 of them on a bomb by Marcus Timms. 5-zip New York. Jason Kubel stands in with a 1-0 count. Now 2-0 as he faces Phil Hughes. Hughes has allowed only 1 Minnesota hit. That to Denard Span in the 4th, but he was quickly erased in a double play. The Yankees lead at 5-0. GM Brian Cashman of the Yankees has referred in the past to Phil Hughes' California cool. He's from Mission Viejo, California. That from a guy who's had some trouble in the past, maybe taking a deep breath at times here at Yankee Stadium, but he has been in complete control tonight through 4 against Minnesota.
Have you ever been to Mission Viejo?
I have not been to Mission Viejo.
There's nothing to worry about there. It's so beautiful. 70 degrees every day. Perfect.
He started out in his career with a little bit of a curse because his second start he had a no-hit bid for 6 1/3 innings at 20 years old. Then came in for Roger Clemens at 21 in relief. Did a great job, and you know the rest was history. He got thrust into the bullpen, and now here he is starting a postseason game.
Fouled off by Kubel.
John, that game you were talking about, it was against Cleveland in the 2007 postseason. He went 3 2/3 and got the win. Clemens left that game with an injury. So Preston to service, first time in the postseason, outstanding.
Behind third, long run. Brett Gardner. 1 down. At the end of the last half inning, we had a chance to chat with Joe Girardi. Joe, the bats have certainly been there tonight, but I want to talk about Phil Hughes. What is it about his night so far that's been so effective?
It looks like he has real good command of his fastball, especially down and away to left-handers, and he's been able to come in on them. He's mixed in his curveball and his cutter, and he's thrown a few changes. I mean, his command has been very, very good.
Joe, you got a real couple of weapons at the bottom of that lineup. Great speed, Granderson, and it's a great at-bat, I thought, by Gardner, giving Granderson some time to steal that base.
Yeah, and he gets behind 0-2 in the count, and Grandy gets to third on the air, and he ends up just hitting the sac fly, and that's all you're asking for. And with that type of speed, you don't have to hit it that deep. Very good at-bats by those two.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, guys.
Foul straight back by Delman Young.
Well, the simple difference, you know, for what's going on between the two teams, the Minnesota Twins are getting beat. The ball is beating the hitters. The Yankees are not getting beat. Nothing's getting in deep. They don't look fooled. They're squaring up. Even their outs have been hard outs.
Popped up near that Yankee dugout. Posada gives it a look. And it's still 0-2. Delman Young, a strikeout victim in the second. One of 4 strikeouts for Phil Hughes in his first postseason start.
Whenever you see, John, a good hitting team struggling to square the ball up, to me it's frustration, it's tight, it's trying to do too much. Everyone's trying to hit the 3-run home run instead of mount that rally. Keep that train rolling. Everyone, you know, refuse to make an out. Get a base hit. Take a walk.
You've been on both sides of that, both of you guys in postseason play. How do you stay up? Do you feel it in the dugout sometimes, John, that, you know what, I don't think our guys have the belief maybe right now?
Well, there's no doubt. There's no switch you can turn on. You know, I hate the statement, oh, you know, they'll win when they have to, or they'll turn it on when they need to. I hate that because it doesn't exist. You need a dominating pitching performance. That's the only way it turns around. And if you don't get it, you better be awfully good offensively. And so far, that has not. Those two components have not worked together yet for the Twins.
You try to fight it, and you know it's there, and it's palpable. Hangs over that dugout. But sometimes, you know, you look at it this game, and we've sent all the numbers that the Twins against the Yankees, and sometimes it's just too much to take.
Toward right center field, it will fall for the second Minnesota hit. Delman Young reaches with 1 out. John, as we were talking before the game too, you got the impression, and I like the way you put it, that it would have to be something out of the ordinary maybe that was going to happen to maybe turn this series around for Minnesota.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when you have a streak as long as this, you go all the way back to Boston when they were fighting the Demons. They came back from 0-3 down, the most improbable way to change it. Now they think they can do that every time they're in a series. That's what Minnesota needs. They need a rally of 4 or 5 runs in an inning. They need something that can change the way they view the way this series has been going. Now, obviously, sorry about the golf analogy, they're running out of holes, running out of chances to make birdies. They've got to start approaching each inning. They got to start scratching runs out some way, somehow.
Jim Thome fouls it back.
That's my last one, by the way. Last golf analogy.
I doubt it. It's par for the course.
And it's hard to mount a rally when you see a stat like that. Once in this series, they've had back-to-back hits.
Thome struck out his first time. The 1-1. Cut right through it. Ball and 2 strikes with a runner at first and 1 down here in the 5th.
As improbable as it seems, it's doable, especially in this ballpark, especially with all the left-handed hitters that they have. A bloop and a blast, and the next thing you know, you're right back in it.
Yeah, but the problem is you got to do it in the next 3 innings. You got to do it by the 7th.
Took something off, but missed 2-2.
Well, you have to do it by the 7th and 8th because the biggest momentum changer in baseball is the Mo Rivera that they have for the Yankees.
He has saved both of the first 2 games of this series. The first one, 4 outs. The 2-2. That's 74 miles an hour, and a lot of folks here at Yankee Stadium were going to the bat rack. I could hit that thing. Thome took it, and it's 3-2.
I think that's a pretty good call by Greg Gibson. That ball went around the plate. Looks like a good pitch to the pitcher because he picks it up where the catcher catches it.
Thome hit 25 home runs in the regular season to lead the team. He fouls this off. But he's only had 1 hit in this series. 1 out of 8.
I mean, Phil's doing such a good job. None of the left-handers. I mean, Swisher's not even in the game. They haven't pulled a ball or got on one ball to hit that way with any authority. Everything's going to Gardner, who's playing pretty shallow, and he's had to field some pretty easy fly balls.
3 of them to be exact. And Hughes has struck out 4. Delman Young with the lead at first. The 3-2 down low. 2 on with 1 out for Minnesota.
Well, nice at bat there by Jim Thome. Ron Gardenhire's team trying to get back into this ball game.
Nice at bat and a nice, maybe, you know.
It's funny when the catcher has to reach back across his body and don't hit the spot outside. It could be a strike, but you never get the call. I think that was a little down. Phil Hughes now this season, 14 home runs with men on. That was 2nd in the American League.
Here's Michael Kadire. Homered in his first at bat in this series to give Minnesota that early lead in game 1. Struck out in the 3rd. He's 2 for 8 in the series. A ball and a strike. Kadire had 14 home runs and 81 runs batted in the regular season. Also grounded into 26 double plays, which was the 2nd most in the American League. He bats with runners at 1st and 2nd. Hughes trying to coax one of those double play balls out of him. One and 2.
That's that hard cutter that seems to be an influence, a pretty strong influence over here. Randy Pettit, obviously Mariano Rivera. Even CC can cut it in on your hands. They perfected that pitch over here.
But right-hander to right-hander, right-handed hitter going to right field to produce a big hit. Cannot try to pull that pitch.
to see Phil Hughes at the 64 pitch mark. A couple of single-digit innings there, the third and the fourth.
Well, we saw Andy Pettit, disprove the theory of a long inning can produce, a rougher one for you when you go back out there. And this was a long inning for Phil Hughes. He had to sit, benefited with 3 runs.
He struck out Kadire for the second out and for the second time tonight.
He has saved his best fastballs for Kadire twice now, on the corner and away, and a feeble swing by Michael.
Short meeting on the mound between Jeter, Hughes, and Posada. And here is Danny Valencia. He's had 2 RBIs in the series, one on a bases loaded walk, the other a sacrifice fly. He grounded out tonight, so he's 1 out of 6. Boy, do they need a hit with a runner out there. 2 are on right now.
Why they think Valencia is going to be a great player at some point is that in 2010, this season, his rookie year, guys that have been in the top 10 in wins, he's hit 412 off. Top 10 in ERA, 448. Top 10 in strikeouts, 435. The best pitchers bring the best out in them.
A ball and a strike. That strikeout of Kadire now makes the Twins 0 for 11 with runners in scoring position in the series. The Twins hit 285 in the regular season in that situation. 2-1.
Well, John, this is the first inning I've seen Hughes start to pitch away from the strike zone. Some of the things he's done this season here at Yankee Stadium, that's got him into trouble.
Yeah, but his fastball has been so good, he could almost say, here it is, guys, until you put 3 or 4 hits together. I mean, he has just been electric with his fastball. The 12 days or so rest has really helped his arm, and it's shown with the life on that pitch.
Up and away, 3 balls and 1 strike. J.J. Hardy, the number 9 hitter in the Minnesota lineup, is on deck. Hughes has allowed his second hit and his first walk in this inning. That has the runners at first and second with 2 out. And he's a pitch away from getting out of it. And here in New York, they are on their feet.
A little better there by Valencia. Still a little behind that fastball, but a better swing.
Runners return to first and second. And you're running on the 3-2 pitch. Young at second. Tomei at first. Valencia waiting on a 3-2 from Phil Hughes. Popped him up a mile high in the infield. Mark Teixeira takes charge. And Phil Hughes has shut out the Twins through 5. a rule book around with you.
Yeah, we're going to have that answer here in a second.
Way to tease the fans at home as A-Rod takes a strike.
Since 2007, with the permission of the commissioner's office, substitute for a player injured during the postseason, the player substituted during a series.
Let me interrupt you as Scott Baker pitches to A-Rod.
It's going to take a while, Juan.
Hey, Juan, not going anywhere for a while, are you, pal? Good.
The player substitute during a series as with a replacement for an injured player before a series must either also be an eligible player according to the criteria described above or have been a minor league player in the club's organization on August 31st, which means, in addition, a substitution during a series must be a pitcher for a pitcher or position player for a position player substitution. In the event of such a substitution, the injured player removed from the series roster must miss the remainder of that series and the next subsequent postseason series.
We move to the top of the 8th.
Whew. By the way, John, if this was the Oscars, they would have started to play the music in the middle of that.
Robinson Cano.
Very complicated process.
It certainly is.
It's already happened a couple times.
From the way you read it, it is complicated. Cano is 2 out of 2. He's got a triple and a single. The important thing there is if you do make that substitution in this series, then the player's out for the next round. But thank you for bringing your rule book with you.
Yeah. Well, I got it from your mailbag.
Scott Baker in the game. He's won in double figures the last 3 seasons. Has been primarily a starter for Ron Gardenhire's Twins. 12 wins this season in 29 starts.
Robinson Cano waiting on a 1-2. And the count even. Segs?
Well, that rule you just talked about is actually called the Vince Coleman rule. I was in St. Louis when Vince Coleman got run over by the tarp when they tried to bring it down the field. Manager Whitey Herzog went to the commissioner and said, hey, I need to have a replacement player. This isn't fair. He goes, you can't do that. He goes, well, then change the rule.
There you go. Remember the killer tarp episode.
They waited a while.
But if people didn't remember, in St. Louis in the day, the tarp came out of the turf right in front of first base and down the third base side too, and they would just pull it straight over the field. And Vince was at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Robinson Cano waiting on a 2-2 from Scott Baker, the 3rd Minnesota pitcher. Yankees with a single run in the 2nd. Cano scored it after tripling. They scored 1 in the 3rd after Nick Swisher doubled and was knocked in by Mark Teixeira. And the big shot in a 3-run 4th was a 2-run homer by Marcus Timms. So we're 5-0 as Cano battles Baker. Cano now 4 for 10 in the series. Fly ball in left center. Denard Span comes over to make the play. All right, guys, what's big? Orange. And requires lots of hot air. The Conan Blimp. Tonight's aerial coverage is made possible by AT&T, and Conan premieres November 8th right here on TBS.
You think he's in there?
Hey, did you ask me that about 4 innings ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. He's in there.
Oh, okay.
He's flying the thing.
Good choice. Cool. Good choice, EJ.
There's Marcus Timms.
You think Sager's got a suit that color?
More than one, as a matter of fact. There was Marcus Timms in the 4th.
A little fastball away, trying to get ahead of Marcus Timms was Brian Dunsing, and not to be.
That ball's hit hard into left. Timms is 2 out of 3. And you could see on that replay, too, guys, you could just see the shoulders on Dunsing when he realized he'd given it up to Timms with the 2-run homer.
Sometimes still in the dugout is Brian. Sometimes you can't leave. You're just stuck in that seat, contemplating what might have been. Now 2 starts here at Yankee Stadium last year and this season, both 5 runs allowed.
Here's Jorge Posada. He's 1 out of 2. Singled in the second, knocked in a run. Called out on strikes in the 4th. And we talked, John, about the excitement for a guy like Phil Hughes trying to pitch your team into the next round. On the other hand, there's that opportunity too when your team is down like that, 0-2. This is our last bullet, and that's the situation Dunsing was in tonight, but unfortunately could not get it done. J.J. Hardy gobbles that up and throws out Posada for the 3rd out of the 5th. We'll be back. We move to the 6th inning here at Yankee Stadium. Phil Hughes in complete control has allowed 2 hits to Minnesota. Hardy takes a strike. He grounded to short his only trip. So it's a 5-0 game, but if we've seen anything in the last 24 hours is that teams can come back. And well, we saw it last night in the National League Division Series. Cincinnati Reds looked like they were cruising, had a 4-0 lead. San Francisco Giants, same story against the Braves, led 4-0 and lost in extra innings.
Reds, though, gave up that game defensively with the errors they made in the field. Just a great comeback by the Atlanta Braves, and really precipitated the Yankee home run in the 11th by a great defensive play by Troy Gloss, of all people, now back at third base. Starts a double play with the bases loaded against Buster Posey, and Yankees hit his first postseason home run.
You know, guys, you got to stay in character. I mean, and the things you do in the regular season have got to carry over into October. I mean, the Cincinnati Reds, a great defensive team, but last night those 4 errors doomed them. The Atlanta Braves, a team that had a lot of come from behind wins and last at bat wins, they were able to pull that off in San Francisco last night. That ball is hit to center. Curtis Granderson handles it for the first out. You mentioned Rick Ankiel hitting the ball into McCovey Cove to win that game. They'll play Sunday afternoon in Atlanta.
I'm sure Rick trying to work on erasing baseball people's thoughts on his postseasons, consisting mainly of his inability to throw strikes as a pitcher for the St. Louis Cardinals.
The top of the Minnesota order now. Third trip to the plate for Denard Span, who goes to the gap in right center field. Swisher on the run, makes the play. 2 up and 2 down in the 6th. Billy Wagner, by the way, John, too. It's like he's done for this postseason in that Atlanta game.
Unfortunately.
Well, in a season that is going to be his last, finished 2 saves away by the most by any left-hander. He beat the record for relievers for strikeouts, and at the top of his game to have an injury like that when it's his last shot. Just awful.
Orlando Hudson takes, and this from a guy who had already announced this is going to be his last season. He's 38 years old, wants to spend more time at home. He's got young kids, but when you don't go out on your terms, you wonder if there's a door open there. But he's been pretty adamant all season long that no, this is it. Quit asking.
Yeah, it's not many people can go back and throw 98-mile-an-hour batting practice to his kids. I mean, Wags, if it is his last year, an amazing career.
The 1-1 to Hudson. Luke over the head of Cano for a 2-out single.
Well, not hit sharply. Coming inside as Hughes, he got in there just enough. But Hudson with some good hitting, and he has been one of the better hitters for the Twins in this series. Just gets that over the head of Cano.
Well, Joe Mauer is due. 2 out of 11 in the series, hasn't knocked in a run.
Due up and due. You know, sometimes, John, right, it's too much to ask, but your big players have to come up big in the postseason, or you don't have much of a chance.
No, and you got to get some traffic on before them so you can change the mind of the pitcher and how you face this guy, because basically they can do whatever they want when there isn't many runners in scoring position. You don't mind even pitching around them if you have to.
Ball and a strike, and the thing, and you've touched on it, Ronnie, too, the fact that you lose Justin Morneau to the concussion in July, which I think, you know, obviously it hurt. It would have been a real shock to the system had it happened in the last weekend of the season, but they played good ball. In fact, bulked their lead up to 12 in the division without him in there. But certainly you miss a bat that potent in this attack when runs are at such a premium, and this was the injury. John McDonald gets him with the knee as he tries to break up the double play that happened July 7th. We haven't seen him since.
Kind of snapped his neck and head back. Morneau, really the muscle in this lineup. 14 for 28 in Yankee Stadium with 4 home runs.
Hughes ahead of Mauer, 1-2. A breaking pitch just missed. 2-2 with 2 out in the 6th.
Slow curve away, John. You think he's going to try to come inside?
He's been able to do whatever he wants with his fastball. He hasn't had anyone turn it around yet.
And that's fouled off with the runner going.
And you can almost play with guys with a secondary pitch or whatever you want to do when you know you've got your fastball working. And no left-handed hitter has hooked it down the line, hooked it foul, made you change your mind about the way you're pitching. So, stay with the fastball if you want until somebody changes your mind.
Hudson running on that play, down 5 runs.
That ball is lined off the glove of Cano. And runners are at first and second with 2 down. How about that? Back-to-back hits for the Twins here in the 6th. And you talk about being one swing away from making a game interesting. Here's a guy, Jason Kubel, at the plate, who the Minnesota Twins can thank for ending a long drought in this ballpark. Remember, he hit the grand slam off Mariano Rivera in May.
Well, not only that, was put in the 4th slot tonight for the first time in this series. Playing a hunch, maybe. Ron Gardenhire thinking that Kubel is due. All of his postseason at bats have been against the New York Yankees, and he's 2 for 27.
So Ron Gardenhire hoping that a 2-out rally here in the 6th will produce something for this team to get them back in this game that they trail 5-0. Starts him with a breaking pitch, 0-1. Opponents hit .391 off of Hughes with 2 outs and runners in scoring position. That's the situation we're in right now. Kubel behind, 0-1. And now 0-2.
.21 home runs, 92 RBIs.
Make that last graphic read 0 for 13 with runners in scoring position. Big strikeout for Hughes. We go to the bottom of the 6th. Yankees in the bottom half of the 6th. Grounded into a double play. Walked in the 4th, stole a base, and scored a run. Yankees scored 3 times in the 4th to push the lead to 5-0. Scott Baker, the 3rd Minnesota pitcher. Popped up in the infield. Look at Baker. Get out of the way. Hudson makes the play. Come on, you guys are supposed to bail out on that, aren't you?
Let the athletes make the plays.
Here's the Travelers mid-game recap. Jorge Posada got him on the board. And then Marcus Timms unloaded. 2-run shot. That came in the 4th to make it 4-0. Granderson's run made it 5, and that's where we stand in the 6th. Here's Brett Gardner. Knocked in a run tonight with a sacrifice fly after a solid at bat in the 4th.
Came with 2 strikes. Gardner has been outstanding all season long with 2 strikes. 75 hits. 7th in the American League. He's got the same stroke, whether it's 1 strike or 2 strikes. Kind of plays pepper with the baseball, just trying to hit the ball on the ground, hit line drives, put the ball in play, use his great speed.
The Yankees' own dominance in this game, threatening to take their own crowd out of it as they lead 5-0. Minnesota yet to mount a serious threat. They've gotten a runner to second a couple of times, but as has been the story in this series, the hits just do not keep on coming with runners in scoring position. A big offer for the series. A 1-2. Got him looking for the second out.
Well, we talked about if you're an opposing pitcher, this lineup just wears you out. Eventually, they're going to get to you. The 6th through 9 in this lineup have really done a lot of damage. That when you're attacking this lineup, you go, man, I got to get through the meat of the order. If I have to walk through some of those guys, I got to get to the bottom. Well, the bottom is really, I mean, it's just a great lineup. I got a theory, Ernie, it'll never pass, but anyone who pitches a shutout in this stadium against this lineup, if I'm a GM, I'm giving the guy a 3-year contract.
Oh, wow.
You are?
Yeah.
What a generous GM.
I'm just doing it. I mean, it's.
I think Josh Beckett got more years than that after that shutout in the World Series here.
The count 0-1 to Derek Jeter. Minnesota yet to have a 1-2-3 inning. He tied him up there, 0-2.
You know what I'd be thinking if I was Ron Gardenhire and Rick Anderson? How come we didn't start Scott Baker today? He looks pretty good here in his couple innings.
Dunsing started, went 3 1/3. Then Matt Guerrier, and then Scott Baker. Misses with the 0-2. This Baker's postseason debut.
Well, this season, one of the best pitchers here in Yankee Stadium was Felix Hernandez, but he was great anywhere he pitched.
Yeah. Should win the Cy Young. Could win the Cy Young.
I think he should.
Jeter goes down swinging. That is the first 1-2-3 inning from Minnesota pitching. We're going to the 7th. At Yankee Stadium, we move to the top half of the 7th inning in Game 3. Yankees looking for a sweep and leading 5-0 over Minnesota as Delman Young leads it off. He singled in the 5th, 1 out of 2, and is 4 for 10 in the series. Phil Hughes is pitching a dandy here in Game 3. His first postseason start. Hits softly to second. Cano on the short hop throws him out. Well, on September 20th of this year, it was a night to remember the boss. The owner, George Steinbrenner, who died July 13th, just 9 days after his 80th birthday. And in Monument Park, out there in straightaway center field, that was unveiled. They lost the boss this year in New York, and they lost the voice, Bob Shepard. And it came 2 days apart. George Steinbrenner, 80 years old, and Bob Shepard, 99. Who had been working the PA here since 1951. Just part of the history that's in this ballpark and this organization. Jim Thome batting with 1 out. Struck out tonight and walked. And time getting short for the Minnesota Twins. We're in the 7th. That's hit into the shift. Cano throws him out. 2 down.
Included in that list, Ernie Ralph Houck, great manager of many of those fine Yankee teams.
An influence on a guy like Bobby Cox, who played for him. We saw Bobby Cox get ejected in the San Francisco-Atlanta game. It's a crazy night.
What has it been, 5 years since the manager's been ejected?
And now nobody can stay on the field.
That's right.
3 of them?
3 in 30 hours.
Yeah. Phil Hughes to Michael Kadire. That ball's hit to right. Swisher back. And that's a 1-2-3 inning for Phil Hughes. We're in the middle of the 7th inning. And here at Yankee Stadium, they will honor America.
Your attention, please, ladies and gentlemen. Will you please rise and remove your caps? Please direct your attention now to the microphone behind home plate and welcome George M. Steinbrenner III's eldest granddaughter, Haley Swindle. Haley is pursuing a career in musical theater and is currently featured in the Broadway national tour of White Christmas. And in honor of the servicemen and women stationed around the globe, she will now perform God Bless America.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above, from the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans, wide with
Fox. You're watching the ALDS here on TBS. Game 3 between the Minnesota Twins and the New York Yankees. And New York, after winning those first two at Target Field, coming home and looking for the sweep. And so far, they have dominated Game 3. 0-4-1 for Minnesota, 5-9-0 for the Yankees, who bat now in the bottom half of the 7th.
I don't know, enough can't be said about a team that lost Johnny Damon last year, who had a fantastic season, World Series MVP, Matsui, and Kevin Long, their hitting coach, has just been outstanding. Worked with Swisher all winter long in Arizona. And he's had the ability to, he toiled in the minors as many coaches do. 9 as a player, 9 as a coach. Every player that's down there wants to make the major leagues, but then has to make the decision to become a coach. And his strength is,
as Nick Swisher launches to right, that ball is gone. It is 6-0 Yankees.
right on cue. Swisher with a swing. Little sinker that stays inside. Down and into a left-hander is death for a major league pitcher. And this short wall in right field, easy to get the home run for Swisher.
Go ahead.
Just saying that Long's strengths have been, he has the ability to work with whatever foundation the hitter has. I think that's always the strength of a coach, isn't it? You're working with different guys who have different tendencies, and he seems to be able to not only communicate to these major league players, but also be able to work within their fundamentals to make them better hitters.
Used to watch a lot of tape of Barry Bonds when he was, as he was developing his technique. Kevin was as a hitting instructor. He said, and he read a lot of books, but says you can't just read other people's stuff, and you have to have your own style. And he developed his own as Teixeira grounds up, and he has hit numerous Yankee hitters, including Swisher, who homers here in the 7th as Teixeira grounds out for the first out. If you are just joining us here on TBS, it is Game 3. It is the bottom of the 7th. And the New York Yankees 6 outs away from advancing to the American League Championship Series in a clean sweep of Minnesota. A-Rod swings and misses. They've gotten home runs tonight from Marcus Timms, a 2-run shot. Just moments ago, Nick Swisher connecting on a solo homer here in the 7th. Rodriguez lines to left.
Well, the only downside, if there is one for the Yankees,
what would that be, John?
You win this game and you got about, what, 5-6 days off? Four days off?
No, almost a week. Next Friday would be the first game of the ALCS.
Where you got to get your rhythm going again, and you got to make sure that, baseball, you're used to strapping it up every day and just getting ready and keeping that groove.
Minnesota Twins are going to the pen. Their 4th pitcher on the way. Phillies and the Reds. The only way there's a fourth game on Sunday is if the Minnesota Twins stage a last gasp comeback here in New York. They trail 6-0 to the Yankees as Jose Mijares comes on as the fourth Minnesota pitcher. And he's appeared now in every game of this series.
Well, like the previous pitchers, he's trying to find a way to get it away from the sweet spot of the Yankees hitters. And this guy who's at the plate right now has been one of the best against left-handers, not only all year, but in this series.
And you mentioned before, John, 13 home runs against left-handed pitching. It doesn't matter what arm they throw with. At some point, Cano meets him in the middle of the plate.
He's tripled and singled tonight, also flied out to left. The MVP chant rings down here at Yankee Stadium. And there's no way you can leave him out of that discussion. No, sir. So, John, getting back to that downside of sweeping tonight, did you really think that as a player? You never thought that as a player. Boy, we're going to have some time off here.
No, I mean, but it's hard. It is a little, it's a luxury, but it's a little difficult to go through and duplicate what a game gives you. This would be the most days off they have at any point during the year.
Grounded to short. Hardy throws to second for one and first for the inning-ending double play. 7 innings in the books, and the 7th for New York features this. Nick Swisher going yard. We head to the 8th. Don't miss the series premiere of Glory Days, November 16th at 10, 9 Central, only on TBS. So we've reached the 8th inning here at Yankee Stadium, and we've reached the Kerry Wood portion of our broadcast.
Well, we've talked a lot about the Yankees are trying to get a lot of answers in this series. They got one from Andy Pettitte, and in his last outing against the Twins, a couple of strikeouts for Kerry Wood, he looked like he's going to be that 8th inning man extraordinaire in front of Rivera.
Jumps out ahead of Danny Valencia, 0-2. In game 1, he came on in the 8th. Needed help from Rivera, who came on to close. Absolutely no trouble around, as you said, in game 2. Valencia hit that ball well to the gap. And it's off the wall. Valencia leads off the 8th with a double off Kerry Wood. He hit that ball right on the screws.
Well, it's the first one all night that a Minnesota Twin, and this was 0-2, squares up. You saw he missed his location by a good foot. But the Twins just have not had enough swings. They've almost been in a defensive account all day, it seems like, Ron. I mean, everything's 1-2, 0-2. You gave that credit to the New York starting pitcher and the way that they navigated through this game.
And when you're struggling as an offense, you get that hit when no one's on base. He came up with 2 on in the 5th and popped up to Teixeira.
J.J. Hardy takes up and in, 1-0. Hardy trying to be the man who breaks the drought with runners in scoring position.
Kerry Wood's only given up 2 earned runs since he's come over to the Yankees, and the pitching coach, Dave Island, for the Yankees has worked with Wood to stand taller. And I think the things he does, 2 things he does when he struggles. He opens up that front shoulder too early, and he sometimes gets under the baseball. Those are only the 2 things that Island tried to work with. When he's right, John, almost unhittable.
The 1-2 to J.J. Hardy. That's hit to right, but right at Nick Swisher. Makes the play, and the runner, Valencia, wisely holds. Let's go down to Craig Sager. Segs.
Well, tonight's ceremonial first pitch was thrown by Hall of Fame catcher Yogi Berra. Yogi, of course, behind the plate when Don Larson threw that perfect game in the 1956 World Series. I asked Yogi, I had a chance to watch Roy Halladay throw the no-hitter Wednesday for Philadelphia. He said, "You betcha." I felt like getting down on my stance and going to work. As for Don Larson's perfect game, he said, "It seems like yesterday." I said, "Yogi, that was 54 years ago yesterday." He said, "Yeah, I know, but you remember what happened in 47? I said, "No, refresh me." He said, "Bill Bevins had a no-hitter with 2 outs in the 9th against the Dodgers. We lost that one, and we lost the game. We let it get away." He said, "In 56, we were in that same position with Don Larson against the Dodgers. I was afraid it was going to be deja vu all over again."
So you got one of those face-to-face, huh, Craig?
Betcha.
Here's Denard Span. Span 1 out of 3. He singled the lead off the 4th, but then was promptly erased in a double play. For the Twins, it was welcome to our world.
That's the pitch that he's learned when he's gotten over here. The backdoor cutter. Again, cutter being a popular word in the Yankees rotation, staff, bullpen. Unhittable when you throw it good.
Even the bat boys throw it, John.
That ball's hit well to right. Swisher fields on a hop. They're at the corners with 1 down. And for the first time in this series, it's a hit with a runner in scoring position.
And wouldn't you know it, it's a hit with a runner in scoring position that doesn't score a run.
They're 1 for 15 now.
Hanging curveball there from Kerry Wood. Nice hitting by Denard Span.
So for the Minnesota Twins, that's a start. But they need to string a bunch together. Down 6-0 here in the 8th. Pitch high and away to Orlando Hudson, who's 1 out of 3. He's singled in the 6th. The only left-hander in the New York bullpen is Boone Logan. He begins to heat up as Wood falls behind 2-0. Phil Hughes went 7 shutout innings. And Kerry Wood is in danger of loading the bases here in the 8th.
Ineffective in the first game. Outstanding in the second. Ineffective in this one so far, with Mauer looming.
The 3-0. Right through it. Count is full. Since coming over at the trade deadline, Kerry Wood appeared in 24 games with an ERA of 0.69. Allowed just 1 home run. That to the Blue Jays' Aaron Hill. The payoff pitch. Lined, base hit. And the Minnesota Twins are on the board. And Denard Span will go first to third. So they're at the corners with 1 down.
Well, sometimes you can fall into a little bit of a, you never come in, as we look at this replay. Fastball, pretty good pitch. Hudson stays with it and gets a hit. 6-0 game. You come in trying to pump fastballs. You know it's not just getting your work. You got to get your inning in and get 3 outs. Sometimes you're lulled into a little bit of a, you can't create a situation, that would be any different than coming into a 1-run game. But a 6-0 lead, Kerry's got to get a couple outs here just so it doesn't get interesting.
Very interesting. When the 2 left-handers up, Boone Logan either did not get loose quick enough. Kerry Wood's going to stay in this game.
You heard Yogi talking about 1956, and you saw the number there about the biggest blown lead in a loss being 6 in the 56 World Series. Here is Joe Mauer, singled his last time. So Minnesota with signs of life here in the 8th. 1 run is in. 2 runners on.
See, when Kerry Wood gets underneath, he's got a great fastball. When he gets underneath the fastball, it's a little bit more of an erratic pitch. He goes back to his slider and cutter when he gets a little bit off kilter, but his fastball sets up everything else. And when he threw that nasty cutter and then rolled the curveball, it just gave that hitter a chance to put it in play.
Three balls and no strikes. Runners lead from first and third. The 3-0 is over.
Well, everybody in the ballpark knows what Joe Mauer is going to get here in this 6-1 game. A fastball 3-1.
It's got to be the one you like and try to drive it in the gap, keep this rally going as long as possible.
He knocked in 75 runs in the regular season, draws a walk here in the 8th, and they are loaded. And that will be all for Kerry Wood, who slams down the rosin bag. And will leave with the bases loaded here in the 8th. Things not quite as comfortable for the New York Yankee faithful as they were when the inning started. Still a 5-run lead, 6-1, but the bases are loaded. And Boone Logan has come on now in relief of Kerry Wood, who was fooling nobody. Gave up a double to Valencia. A well-hit ball by J.J. Hardy to Swisher and right for an out, but then Span singled, Hudson singled, a walk to Joe Mauer. And now one swing of the bat makes things mighty interesting.
Well, with Boone Logan, Kubel only has one hit, 1 for 5. That hit, a home run.
And I know Minnesota Twins fans are watching this guy stride to the plate, Jason Kubel, and saying, could May 16th happen all over again? In this ballpark, it was Rivera on the mound, and Kubel went deep, a grand slam in a 6-3 Minnesota win. Now he bats with the bases loaded in the 8th in Game 3 of the ALDS and faces the lefty Boone Logan. Span, Hudson, and Mauer the runners. 3rd, 2nd, and 1st. And on the first pitch, he pops it up. Alex Rodriguez makes the play for the 2nd out.
Well, it's a pitch right there, John.
And it's the only one he's going to make, but it was a good one. 1 out. He got out of it.
Kubel now 2 for 29 career in the postseason.
All those at bats earning against the New York Yankees.
Boone Logan did his job. Required 1 pitch. Conan Blimp and aerial coverage is brought to you by AT&T. Rethink Possible. Conan's new show premieres November 8th right here on TBS. You have anything to ask me, John?
He's not in there. I checked. I got a hold of air traffic control, and they said he's not in there.
David Robertson going to face Delman Young with the bases loaded.
He's already had a big strikeout in this series versus Jim Thome with that great curveball, but has nice action on his fastball, cutting action. Back to the cutter, John.
You saw the numbers there. He struck out 71 in 61 and a third in the regular season. The 3 runners lead. And Robertson throws a strike at 93. Young's 1 out of 3. He's been Minnesota's leading hitter in this series.
Well, for Minnesota fans to get their hopes up, in 23 at-bats against Robertson in his young career, he has allowed 3 grand slams.
It's a 6-1 game with a 1-1 count to Delman Young. Fly ball center field. How about that job by the New York Yankees bullpen after Kerry Wood struggled? Boone Logan, David Robertson, big time stuff. About today's hot topics in sports. Check out Behind the Mic, presented by Allstate, exclusively on SI.com. Twins left them loaded in the 8th. Trails 6-1 as Marcus Timms leads it off in the bottom half of the 8th. And Joe Mauer jumped out there and threw him out. And Fuentes, the 5th Minnesota pitcher.
Well, all he's done is racked up 20 saves just about every time he goes out there as a closer, and they got him to add depth in the bullpen. And certainly they were hoping to use him in much different circumstances. I thought he'd be huge, Ron, if they had the lead and could get to whatever matchup they wanted to, because Ron Gardenhire didn't care right or left. They figured he's, done it before. He's nasty on both sides.
Jorge Posada takes a strike. 0-1.
Well, you mentioned those bases loaded that the Twins left. Maurer got the walk, but again, the 3, 4, 5 hitters not producing any damage.
That 8th inning, a snapshot of the series for the Minnesota Twins, who have 3 outs left.
Well, it's going to be a long winter for Ron Gardenhire.
Well, the good news, unlike other teams similar in their situation, they're going to be back next year. They're just going to get better, and they're going to do the things and look internally how they can find ways to be a little bit better, as they have done really in this 6 out of 9 years that they've been in the playoffs.
But the postseason frustration continuing for Gardenhire. 2-18 in his last 20 games in the postseason.
Yeah, it's hard. It's not like a long race. You can't position yourself to play anyone else, but it would be nice if they didn't always start with the Yankees.
They won 94 games, just 1 fewer than the team they're facing here, the Yankees, who are on the brink of an ALDS sweep.
And they limped in. They could have had the best record in baseball.
They lost 8 of their last 10. The Yankees came in having lost 7 of their last 10. But when a clutch hit was needed in this series, it was always on the New York side. Minnesota did have leads in the first 2 games. Couldn't hold them. The 2-2. He gets Posada swinging for the second out. There's trouble.
I think I'm going to go to Fort Lauderdale next year and see if we can't set that up.
Yeah, you're going to take care of it?
Yeah.
In the winter meetings?
Yeah, I want to see Mariano face Cano.
Well, there you go.
I'll drive down there for it.
You'll have to be involved in there somehow. Is this going to be a reality show of yours, or what do you got in mind here?
I just want to see it.
And this just tells you how long you started, John. They moved over to Tampa a few years ago.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Tampa. All those trips over to Fort Lauderdale.
They're going to say, look, we both showed up and you were in Fort Lauderdale.
I knew that too.
Curtis Granderson takes a strike, of 1-1 count here in the bottom half of the 8th.
See if you guys are paying attention.
We pay attention to all your good ideas.
Like all 3 of you guys jumped on me at once. I mean, could have taken it a little easier.
The third being Hal DeLima, our ace statistician.
You're just bitter over that West Palm Beach to Fort Lauderdale trip that you had to make over and over and over.
Granderson looking for his first hit of the night. He has walked and scored.
Back to my Class A days, Fort Lauderdale Yankees.
It's all very understandable now and acceptable, John.
Took the train.
2-2 with 2 out. Up the middle. And a base hit for Granderson. 5th hit of the series for Curtis Granderson, and the first one tonight. So you've been in this situation before. You've been on a team that's on the verge of clinching and moving on. You've been on the other side too, and a team that it's just not going to happen for you. What's going on in that Yankee dugout right now?
Well, back in the clubhouse, they got the plastic over the lockers. You're trying to, put your stuff in there so it doesn't get messed up. And on the other side, you never really prepare to end your season on a loss. I mean, that's the opposites of what, when you get here, it's exciting, but when you leave on a loss, it's not so fun.
Fouled off by Brett Gardner.
Well, I think when you look at both dugouts, you have to get to a point where the Twins are going to have to reevaluate, where they thought they came up a little short. I honestly thought they had the pieces to take on the Yanks. They just came out flat. How do you explain it? Who knows?
Oh, 1 pitch due to Gardner. Do you get in somebody else's head? I mean, a lot of teams will say, no, this is a new year. This is a new time. None of that other stuff matters. But when you're in a situation like that, can you avoid not saying, man, maybe they just do have our number?
I don't think you can avoid it because it just gets played so much. I mean, you have to talk about it so much. The matchups in baseball are always intriguing because in a short series, it's so much different. You got to have a lot of moving parts or different parts to be successful. And Minnesota, over 162, has relied on their way, and their way has been good. But in the postseason, it just hasn't been good enough.
1-2 for the number 9 hitter in the Yankees lineup.
I don't think it's any different than when you are a hitter who enjoys hitting at a ballpark, doesn't enjoy hitting at another. A pitcher who goes into a ballpark and has a incredibly losing record every single time. It's there. It's planted inside of your DNA. And every time you're in that ballpark, when guys are on second and third, not that you're thinking negative thoughts, but they're there.
Grounded to third. Valencia throws out Brett Gardner. For those last 2 images, the shot of the Minnesota dugout and the Yankee dugout in stark contrast. It's Mo time. Jim Thome. It's the guy he retired for the final out in each of those games. And when you add up the regular season and the postseason, Mo sitting on 600 saves. Quickly 0-2.
What'd you say, John? Your goal is to be introduced 4 times as a player in a season.
That's right. Opening day, first round of the playoffs, second round of the playoffs, World Series, and maybe even getting an All-Star appearance in there.
Thome's 0 for 2 with a walk. 1 for 9 in the series. A 1-2. There is 1 out.
Well, this cutter, if you just think he's going to go in all the time, he doesn't always do that. He backdoors it with his just about as good as anybody.
Here is Michael Kadire. Up and in. 1 ball and no strikes.
If you've ever played wiffle ball, you can hold the ball a certain way and get what's called a sailor, or one of those little. That's what he does. It looks like he's playing wiffle ball. He's got a string on the end of it, and it just goes where he wants more times out of not.
The 2-1. Fly ball to right. Nick Swisher. The Yankees an out away from the ALCS. The guy at the plate now, Danny Valencia, led off the 8th inning with a double and has scored the only Minnesota run, an inning when they left the bases loaded. He's the last hope.
And Valencia represents the next wave of talented young players for the Minnesota Twins. And the old guard, Jim Thome, had an outstanding season this year.
Well, like I said, everything about the Minnesota Twins is right about baseball. How they go about it, how they play their 162 games, how they respect the game, and their manager is going to be disappointed not coming away with a win, but certainly awfully tough to argue that they were not picked by many to get this far. And once again, they did.
Somehow that missed. 2 balls and a strike.
We have a lot of teams, though, are down 6-1 in the playoffs postseason, and they are sitting on the bench moping. Every single one of those Twins on the top rail of the dugout, witnessing this, because they want to be there someday.
Not a player or a fan sitting. Fly ball left field. Brett Gardner is back. And the New York Yankees are on their way to the American League Championship Series. Craig Sager is waiting. Go ahead, Sags.
Well, I'm with Marcus Timms. You know, for a guy that last year waited around for a job, he signed a minor league contract with his ball club. You make the team the day before the season opener, and here you hit the key home run in the clinching job. How do you put it into perspective?
It feels good. That's 3 wins out of the way. We're trying to get 11, and I'm just happy I got a chance. That's all I've ever asked for is just a chance, and I'm happy to be helping these guys out right now.
You certainly are. This team did not exactly come into the playoffs on a roll. You lost 7 out of the 10. You lost the division to Tampa Bay. What turned around so quickly here?
I mean, we have the veteran guys in the clubhouse. Derek and Posada and Mo, and those guys have been around for so long. They make everybody feel calm in the clubhouse, and they never panic. And once the regular season was over, we closed the door and started a new chapter. And we started off in spring training. We wanted to, get to the playoffs and then try to win the whole thing.
It's sometimes tough to go into a new clubhouse. Obviously, you've been in the postseason before with the Tigers. And to come in here, to suddenly be part of it and be a contributor, was it difficult?
No, it wasn't, because I started my career here. And most of the guys, the coaches had me when I was 19, 20 years old. And I've known Derek and them for a long time. So it was kind of easier for me. But I know they expect for you to produce once you get here. And I've been able to try to do that for them.
After winning 3 games in a row, sweeping the Twins, would you like to keep going, or do you look forward to these days off and not playing again until Friday?
We don't want to take too many off. Hopefully we can have some practice days in between. But it's good to get some of the guys healthy. Some guys are banged up right now, and hopefully we can keep rolling.
Congratulations. Go celebrate.
All right, thank you.
Back to you, EJ.
All right, thank you very much, Craig Sager, and congratulations to Marcus Timms and the New York Yankees. Marcus Timms was drafted back in '96 by this team and was at one point traded for Ruben Sierra, and now he's back again and delivers a key shot tonight as the Yankees clinch in a sweep.
Well, think about it. Come full circle, Ruben Sierra also came here and helped the Yankees in their dynasty years, and now Marcus Timms has his chance.
1-7-1 for the Twins, 6-12-0 for the New York Yankees. Our final score, Yankees 6 and the Twins 1. For Ron Darling and John Smoltz and Craig Sager and the rest of the crew, our producer Glenn Diamond, our director Lonnie Dale, this is Ernie Johnson saying good night from New York. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for more postseason action. Coverage begins at 12:30 Eastern on TBS. TBS is your exclusive home for the entire Division Series and the ALCS. Now stay tuned for Inside MLB presented by Captain Morgan. Remember to drink responsibly.